Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I think this will be my last video in this 8-video series about dry fly fishing up here in Montana. But one thing I thought I'd stick in front of the camera, all the fish that you've seen me catch, and I know you probably can't see this very well, but this is the fly I've been using. It's an Adams parachute, a number 14. Tied up on a 2 extra long shank hook. I always like to do it that way to make sure I can get the material in there. I know you can't see that very well. Let me extend it out there. Number 14 standard Adams parachute. So there you go. Let's get to this and see if I can catch another fish, and then I'm going to come back and recap the subject of dry fly fishing up here in these creeks in Montana. Okay, let's recap, ladies and gentlemen. Right there towards the last, you've probably seen me popping that fly in and out of the creek, in and out of the current. That's a technique. It's used to kind of excite the fish. And if you, in other words, I just pop the fly in there, let it float for about 3 or 4 or 5 seconds, pop it back out. It's a dry fly technique. Okay, let me recap this whole dry fly fishing here to get some meat into this file. Okay, starting with gear, I recommend, on these mountain creeks especially, a 6-weight rod is your average good rod to buy for fly fishing. I personally like a 5-weight. I've tried 4 weights, but they're a little bit too light for me. Okay, a 5 or a 6-weight rod, perfect. And you want to get a respectable fly line. I use Cortland line, rocket taper 444, weighted forward number 5, because it bucks the wind a little bit better, okay? And I use a fairly long tippet. I've got a fluorocarbon leader on here, and the final tippet, the very end of the leader where this fly is hooked on right here, is 5X, and the leader I'm running today is about 11 foot long, okay? Now, whatever reel and brand of rod you want to buy, that's fine. I use this takedown jobber. It's 9 foot long, 4-piece. The reason being is because it's easier for me to, I don't even put the rod together till I get to where I want to fish, believe it or not. I bring the case along. Okay. Now remember what I said about not slapping the water. You got to learn to just gently set that line down, and you want to keep a tight line to your fly, but not so tight that it's dragging across the current. And there's this thing called mending your line, where you actually roll a little line upstream and a little line downstream or whatever have you to keep a natural float. That's important. And you also want to learn to false cast, if you will, to dry your fly off, and learn to use floating, because every once in a while you have to dress your fly line, because when your fly line gets dirty, it'll sink. But better yet, you need to use it on your fly so your fly won't sink, you know. And then after you've made a presentation, you want to keep your rod down here at a 90-degree angle, you know, so that when the fish, you know, grabs your fly, you got plenty of angle to set up. You see what I'm getting at here? You don't want your rod way up in the air like this. I see a lot of people doing that. Mistake. Once you cast and settle that dry fly in there, keep that rod pointed right to that dry fly. And keep your hands together like this, so that when you set up, you know, because a reel is nothing more than a device to hold your fly line. It's not like, fly fishing is not like spin fishing or any of that stuff. It's mostly to hold your line. You're fighting that fish with this long wispy rod and your hand, you know, pulling your line in and out. If you watch my YouTube videos, you'll see me doing all of these kind of things. And you want to learn to take up that excess slack so you don't wreck your fly line. And what else do I need to talk about? You know, you just got to use common sense. I think this is the 8th video I've made right in a row within a week's time on dry fly fishing these creeks up here in Montana. So I've thrown out one heck of a lot of knowledge I've gained over, you know, 35, 40 years of fly fishing. So there you are. You know, but you got to get into a rhythm. And especially the biggest thing that I've hammered on and making these videos is casting, because we get all kinds of tourists up here in Montana and whatnot have you. I've seen people that can't even cast 15 feet, yet they run around with $3,000 to $4,000 worth of fly fishing gear. It just absolutely makes me sick. I've stepped up in this hole 7 times and caught 7 fish. So there you are. Okay. That's about all I gotta say. Let me see if I can get around here without busting my ass. Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think that hole's about played out. They're too smart. I mean, that's why it's important to let a hole settle down, because trout up here in this water is crystal clear and they get spooky. That's why I was talking about letting a hole settle down and whatnot have you before you go bruising in there again. Very well, 9.5 minutes on this file. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.